Will do.
And then finally, are you aware of a document that appeared around 2019, sometimes called the Admiral Wilson memo or EW Notes memo?
I am not.
You're not.
Are you tracking?
I'm not personally aware of that.
Okay.
I'm not aware, Congressman.
In my 10 seconds remaining, then, I guess I just would ask, Mr. Chairman, unanimous consent to enter that memo into the record.
Without objection.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Appreciate it.
I called it the UFO leak of the century. I think I was right on that.
I think it's the most important thing that's ever happened in ufology, and if it's legitimate, it's the most important thing that's happening to the planet. The biggest story in the history of the planet. You need to read this. It's that important.
In 2019, a 15-page document known as the Wilson-Davis Notes was leaked from the estate of the late Apollo 14 astronaut Edgar Mitchell, the sixth man to walk on the moon. It records an apparent conversation between Admiral Thomas Wilson and a Dr. Eric Davis in 2002. In this conversation, according to the notes, Admiral Wilson had attempted, after a meeting with Dr. Stephen Greer, Edgar Mitchell, and others in 1997, to find a highly secret special access program responsible for recovering crashed UFOs, and then examining and attempting to reverse engineer the apparently extraterrestrial technology. In the notes, apparently written by Davis himself, the Admiral says he did in fact find this secret program, but was told that he was not allowed to have access to or to even inquire any further about it, as he did not have, quote, the need to know. As the Admiral at the time was second in command of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, one of the highest-ranking officials in the Pentagon, he was quite perplexed and furious at being denied access to the program. He was also shocked to be told to never make any more inquiries about the program, otherwise his prestigious career could be in jeopardy. If these notes are legitimate, they confirm that not only are we not alone in the universe, and that another intelligent species has been in contact with us, which has landed and crashed their craft on our planet, but also that certain sections of the U.S. government, with help from private aerospace companies, have been concealing this incredible fact from the public for a very long time. In other words, this document could contain the most explosive secret in human history. Did this meeting between Admiral Wilson and Eric Davis actually take place? How can we be sure this meeting really did happen?
Edgar Mitchell in 2008 started talking about it. 2008 on Larry King, he said, we received the call back. The Vice Admiral found people responsible for the cover-up and told him, you don't have a need to know. There's no doubt in my mind right now, if you're gonna accuse Edgar Mitchell of just making that up, going on national television, that alone for me told me it was, that it had happened.
The point is that the story about the Wilson meeting was already coming out in various ways during the first few years of the 21st century.
One of my other colleagues encountered this gentleman, this Admiral, in Las Vegas, where he was looking into these special access programs. And the story is that they got rejected, saying you don't really have a need to know. And this Admiral was not very happy with that answer, that he didn't really have a need to know.
So we've learned that this meeting almost certainly did take place. But how do we know that this document isn't just some forgery or simply a piece of fiction?
I knew Ed quite well. And I was friends with his goddaughter, who helped me get an interview with him 22 years ago. They confirmed that probably did come from Edgar's files, and they even zeroed in on who probably walked out of his house with it. So it seems like a legitimate document.
I do believe that there is a strong body of evidence to suggest that the provenance of the documents is very, very solid. I write about a guy to whom I give the pseudonym in my book, The Spaceman. He was a very, very close friend of Edgar Mitchell. He confided that he was the custodian of Edgar Mitchell's private UFO archives. He allowed me access to those archives, and in those archives is the original of the Admiral Wilson document that was leaked out onto the web in about 2018. That was done by a good friend of mine here in Australia, James Rigney, who passed it on to Grant Cameron and Richard Dolan. I'm very sure of the provenance of the Admiral Wilson document. It came from Edgar Mitchell's estate. And I'm also very sure that it was written by Dr. Eric Davis, a man for whom I have an enormous amount of respect. And I'm pretty sure that the document was faxed by Dr. Hal Puthoff to Edgar Mitchell, because Edgar Mitchell was on the Science Advisory Board for the National Institute of Discovery Science. which was the private science investigative body that was investigating the paranormal for Bob Bigelow, the aerospace and real estate entrepreneur. And I've also done an analysis of the comments made by all of the people who are parties, if you like, to the provenance of the document. And if you were Eric Davis and people were circulating a document that purports to be Eric Davis's notes of his alleged conversation with Admiral Tom Wilson, the immediate past director of the Defense Intelligence Agency, in a car park, the EG&G company in Las Vegas, and they're discussing a covert aerospace company's concealment on behalf of certain elements of the US government and intelligence establishment of retrieved alien technology and how it's been kept secret from the US public for so many years. You would expect that such a wild, wacky conspiracy theory would be immediately denied by a man with a security oath to protect and a need to be seen to be a loyal patriot of America. But what has Eric Davis done? If anything, in an interview with Stephen Greenstreet on The Basement, which for some perverse reason Greenstreet took down, Eric Davis made a number of admissions that I thought were quite pertinent to this, and I write about them in the book. There are aspects of the responses from the different parties that don't make sense if that document is a fake.
Tell me about the Admiral Wilson transcript.
I can't discuss that.
You can't discuss.
I'm not at liberty to discuss it.
Because you're all over the...
Oh, I know.
All over it.
Yeah. They were leaked out of Ed Mitchell's estate. There's nothing I can say about it.
Eric Davis works for Aerospace Corporation, and he's working on apparently propulsion technologies, next generation propulsion technologies. There is no doubt in my mind he has to have a top secret SCI compartmentalized security clearance in order to do that. So he has to be positive vetted to make sure that he's a decent man who's allowed to be given America's most sensitive secrets. Don't you think that if he was aware that a memo was fake, he'd say so? And he's never done that. All credit to Dr. Stephen Greer. It was he who initiated with Edgar Mitchell a meeting with Admiral Tom Wilson in 1997 that kicked the ball off. And Tom admitted to me that meeting took place. And there are 5 people, Stephen Greer, Edgar Mitchell, Sherry Adamiak, Commander Willard Miller, and I think one other, who were all present and who heard, allegedly, Tom Wilson making admissions about his inability to get to the bottom of the truth of the matter about UAPs. So you have to take into context the assertions of all of these people as direct witnesses with what is being said by a past director of the Defense Intelligence Agency, who makes it very, very clear in the memo in question that if it ever becomes public, he would have to lie about it. And nobody is to say anything, frankly, in my view, that should detract from the fact that Admiral Tom Wilson is an honourable, decent, loyal patriot. If I was in his position, that's exactly what I would do. He's bound by a security oath.
Thomas Wilson, this was a man really stuck. He had encountered a reverse engineering program to study UFO tech, and by rights thought he had the rights to have oversight over it due to his position, discovered he didn't, and got smacked down, really got threatened with his career that if he pursued this. So he was in a tough spot, and to admit this would have been an untenable situation for him, obviously. The key here to take away is you've got the former head of the Defense Intelligence Agency and former head of intelligence for the Joint Chiefs of Staff talking to a very brilliant, well-plugged-in scientist about his denial of access to this program. And Davis, in this interview, basically hit a home run with Wilson. He got a very detailed statement from the Admiral.
This guy is one of the smartest people I've ever met. He talks about the legacy crash retrieval program. He goes on other shows talking about crash retrievals of UFOs. This guy has contacts. This guy's made contacts through the years. People tell him something. He's explained exactly how he does it. You get in with somebody, you have clearances, you don't have a need to know, but they will talk to you in a skiff, secure facility. They will tell you stuff in the hopes that you might get a need to know. That's how he's learned about all this stuff. Go listen to the interviews.
So, not only did the meeting take place, but we've seen that these notes are almost certainly an accurate record of what was said in the meeting, thanks to Eric Davis. The reality of what has been revealed is shocking and disturbing, but it's a reality we have to face up to as a species. Arthur C. Clarke held the idea that after we first made contact with another intelligent species from elsewhere in our universe, it would be the end of humanity's childhood and time for us to grow up. That time, it appears, is already upon us. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this video, Give us a thumbs up and subscribe so you don't miss our future videos. Thank you.